Nelson Mandela said this: "There is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." Like I said just now, I don't think you want to live with the thought that you could have done more. After you step down as a leader, a student leader, you're gonna get stuck at A-levels for a few months, and I don't think you want to look back on your experience and be like, I should have done more. I could have done this, I could have done that. I could have been more committed. I could have been there for this person. I didn't know I was going through this tough time. And so it's not just good enough to be super efficient, super effective, to be the fastest or the best at whatever you're supposed to do. Because ultimately, being a leader means that you have to lead from here, lead from the heart. So, yeah, make it count. So this is you, right? This is your man. And with all these different things that I've talked about, you may feel that, you feel extremely small all of a sudden, or you feel like you're not good enough. But thankfully, you don't work solo. Thankfully, you're part of a team. Mr. Ong Zini, he said this thing, I think during devotions one time. He said, the name on the front of your jersey is infinitely more important than the name on the back. And that's why being a leader is not your job to push yourself to a certain level, like to be on a pedestal and everyone looks at you, but it's really to push your team forward. How many of you know Gabriel here? Yeah. See, all the hands shot up. It's the first time that I've spoken so far, and people oh yeah. Okay, Gabriel, right? He's the man. He was the secretary of the 38 Students' Council, and his name, and his fame spreads far and wide because of his selflessness. Okay, truth be told, he had many different struggles in his term in the Students' Council, but that didn't stop him from contributing to the council. There was once the whole council had to go for sub-paper, right? You guys know what that is? Yeah, and then Gabriel didn't have to because he already had his sub-paper. So what did he do? He went out to buy Krispy Kreme donuts for everybody. And he laid it out nicely on the void deck table. So that when we finished our sub-paper, all demoralized, I did math, so I was super demoralized. I came down and I found there were donuts for everybody. And then I asked him, what the heck, man, why are you doing this kind of thing? And he said that he wanted to encourage the council in whatever way he could. And, I mean, he's extremely meticulous. Yes, he's a wonderful secretary. And he can cheer very loudly, so he's a very good counselor at his job. But the thing that makes Gabriel stand out is that all he wanted to do was to do the best for the team. He lived for the team. And so, as a student leader, naturally, you're going to be the one that stands out. You have a badge that's long, and you have a lot of influence now. But the true mark of your greatness as a leader is not what people say about you. It's what people say about your team. A leader without any followers is just taking a walk. Okay. And so I hope that you will remember that you're not living for yourself now. As a student leader, you have a team, and the only way to, be a good and exemplary leader is to push the team forward, to live for the team. Okay, moving on. I think something that I learned the most from my time in AC, that one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is about dealing with insecurities of being a good leader. Because part of that reason is because my direct senior, Esther Chia, is she's like some goddess, right? So, yeah, I think some of you may feel overshadowed by your seniors, or maybe other leaders like your co-captain or someone else in your team actually should be in your position, you feel that way. But something that I learned from my time in ACJC is to be the best you that you have to offer. We can give ourselves a lot of excuses for not doing our best. But you never really know your best until you try. I mean, it took me a long time to realize that nobody was asking me to be Esther Chia 2.0. It really took me a very long time. I think it was only at Ccaab, my Ccaab, where I realized that actually I can be myself, and that's okay, that's enough. and that actually all anybody wanted is just for me to be the best Claire Carter that Claire Carter had to offer. And so, it's alright if you're not the best at your sport or at your performing art. It's alright if you're not like the best at speaking in public or doing motivational pep talks. All your team needs to know is that you're trying your best and you're not making any excuses. And so this is something that you need to evaluate for yourself. Is what you're giving now your best? Because I don't think your team or yourself or your college deserves anything less than the best that you have to offer. And once you know that you're giving your best, that's all anyone can ask for you. And I choose to believe that that's enough. Okay, now I will tell you a story. There was once this boy who got into a car accident and he lost his left arm. So he was extremely depressed because he felt useless. So his parents decided to sign him up for some judo class. And the sensei or the master that taught him judo was extremely talented and extremely experienced and old and wise. And so at the first lesson, the teacher taught the boy just this one move, like his first move. And then for weeks and weeks and weeks after that, the teacher just insisted that the boy practice the one move over and over and over again. And after those many weeks, the boy got really frustrated, of course, and he said, like, he kept asking, why do I only have one move? Can you teach me more moves, please? I pay you money. But he was denied, and the teacher just continued making him practice and practice and practice the same move. And then shortly after that, the teacher just signed him up for a judo competition. So the first few preliminary rounds was alright, he made it through because his opponents were smaller and weaker, but he only executed the one move. And then he got into the semi-finals because of that. Then in the semi-finals he struggled a lot because the guy is the same level of strength and buffness as him. So they struggled, but then the opponent made a weakness. He got himself into a position where he made a mistake. He got himself into a position where the boy could execute the one move that he knew. So he did, and then he won. So he got into the finals, right? So this boy is very, very terrified because he only knows one move. He feels like he's not even good enough to be in this competition in the first place. And then he saw his opponent like super buff, super big, 2 times his size at least. And the boy struggled a lot. He was getting weaker and weaker during the game. But then, same thing that happened was that suddenly the opponent got himself into a position such that the boy could do the only move he knew how to do. And he did it. And then he won. Funny, right? Okay, so after the championship, he won the title, everything. He went to go and ask the teacher, why did you only teach me one move? How did you know that it was going to be enough? And then the teacher said, the move that I taught you is called the one-arm body tackle. And the only weakness is that your other arm is vulnerable to attack. But thankfully, you don't have the other arm. Right, okay. So, however confident or terrified you may feel about the prospect of becoming a student leader, I have 2 things that I want to say before I end off. First is that you already have everything you need to be an exemplary leader. Your strengths, your weaknesses, together as a team, is enough to make AC proud. Right? And secondly, please know that you are not alone in this. I'm not just talking about the people in your room, in this room, not just talking about the people in your team. There's a senior who once said, you will always have God before you, family behind you, friends beside you, and the AC spirit within you. And with all of this, I truly, truly believe that everyone in this room can go on to be exemplary leaders, the craziest, best leaders that ACJC has ever seen. And that you will inspire this batch, your juniors, to go and, make AC proud.